Kwal Yada Yahweh, Tzabaoth Akkad, Shalom. So today I'm going to be getting into the age of adults according to the Torah and also into the contradictory uses of the word Na'ar. So before I get into the precepts, I just want to say this is going to be part of a larger group of videos where I show the differences between Hebrew culture, Torah law, and these heathen nations and their culture, basically putting a divide in how we do things and how the heathen nations do things. We're going to get into pottery, painting, sculptures, timelines, but before all that, I want to clarify the age of adults and definitely defend this word Na'ar and show the very weird uses of this word. The first verse is going to be Exodus chapter 30, 11 through 16. So Yahweh spake to Moses, saying, when you take a census of the Israelite people according to their enrollment, each shall pay Yahweh a ransom for himself on being enrolled, that no plague may come upon them through their being enrolled. This is what everyone who is entered into the record shall pay: a half shekel by the sanctuary weight, 20 gerahs to the shekel, a half shekel as an offering to Yahweh, everyone who is entered into the records from the age of 20 years and up shall give Yahweh's offering. The rich shall not pay more, and the poor shall not pay less than half a shekel when giving Yahweh's offering as expiation for your persons. All right, we're here at Leviticus 27, 1 through 8, and it's going to clarify the standards of what like an infant is, what a baby is, the ages of that, teenage years, and then adulthood and elderly. So let's get it. 27, 1 through 8. Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the Israelite people and say to them, anyone who explicitly vows to Yahweh the equivalent for a human being, the following scale shall apply. If it is male, from 20 to 60 years of age, the equivalent is 50 shekels of silver by the sanctuary weight. If it is female, the equivalent is 30 shekels. If the age is from 5 years to 20 years, the equivalent is 20 shekels for a male and 10 shekels for a female. If the age is from 1 month to 5 years, the equivalent for a male is 5 shekels of silver, and the equivalent for a female is 3 shekels of silver. If the age is 60 years or over, the equivalent is 50 shekels in the case of a male and 10 shekels for a female. All right, we're over here in Numbers 1 and 3, but let's get a little bit of context. On the first day of the second month in the second year following the Exodus from the land of Egypt, Yahweh spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the tent of meeting, saying, take a census of the whole Israelite community by the clans of its ancestral houses, listing the names, every male by head. You and Aaron shall record them by their groups from the age of 20 years up, all those in Israel who are able to bear arms. So warriors 20 years and up. Now we're going to get some more verses. So I got some more numbers, chapter 1, 44 and 45. Those are the enrollments recorded by Moses and Aaron and by the chieftains of Israel, who were 12 in number, 1 man to each ancestral house, all the Israelites aged 20 years and over, enrolled by ancestral houses, all those in Israel who were able to bear arms. So this will be the last one in Numbers 26. We'll start at 26. When the plague was over, Yahweh said to Moses and to Eleazar, son of Aaron, the priest, take a census of the whole Israelite community from the age of 20 years up by their ancestral houses, all Israelites able to bear arms. So these next few precepts are going to finish up this point I'm trying to make of 20 years being the age of adulthood, 20 years tying into when men are drafted for the army, 20 years being when people start taking brides. So let's get these precepts. When a man has taken a bride, he shall not go out with the army or be assigned to it for any purpose. He shall be exempt 1 year for the sake of his household, to give happiness to the woman he has married. So as you guys know, when you get married, the woman's separated from her house. So they got this law here. You can't, once you're an adult, you get married, you're able to get drafted for the war. You can't go to war even then. You can't go to war for a year because you got to comfort your wife. She's been separated from your household. It's kind of like an extended honeymoon instead of like a whatever they do. It's a year honeymoon essentially. So where you can't get drafted. And let's get this next precept in Dead Sea Scrolls. Alrighty. Everyone's favorite, the DSS. So we're going to get in 1Q28A1. So column 1, let's just get a good chunk of this. And this is the rule of the congregation of Israel in the final days, when they gather in community to walk in accordance with the regulations of the sons of Zadok, the priests, and the men of their covenant, who have turned away from the path of the nation. These are the men of his council who have kept his covenant in the midst of wickedness, to atone for the earth. When they come, they shall assemble all those who come, including children and women, and they shall read into their ears all the precepts of the covenant, and shall instruct them in all their regulations, so that they do not stray in their errors. And this is the rule for all the armies of the congregation, for all native Israelites from his youth. They shall educate him in the book of Haggai, and according to his age, instruct him in the precepts of the covenant, and he will receive his instruction in their regulations. During the 10 years he will be counted among the children. At the age of 20 years, he will transfer to those enrolled to enter the lot amongst his family, and join the holy community. He shall not approach a woman to know her through carnal intercourse until he is fully 20 years old. When he knows good and evil, then he shall be received to give witness against him about the regulations of the law, and to take his place in the proclamation of regulations. All right, here's the Apocrypha, just a quick little precept in the Apocrypha. They got some fragments, Dead Sea Scrolls, so check that out if you want to screenshot it. Let's just get this verse. Tobit 1:9, but let me start at 8. A third tenth I would give to the orphans and widows, to the converts who had attached themselves to Israel. I would bring it and give it to them in the 3rd year, and I would eat it according to the ordinance decreed concerning it in the law of Moses, and according to the instructions of Deborah, the mother of my father Tobiel. For my father, he had died and left me an orphan. When I became a man, so 20 years old, I married a woman, a member of our own family, and by her I became a father of a son who I named Tobias. All right, so before I get into the word Na'ar, I want to clarify how I'll be formatting my positions, basically presenting them as if in a court hearing. I'm going to present my evidence in the form of precepts/information dumps, finally clarifying the major differences between Israelite law/culture and the heathens' practices/customs, setting us apart. Yeah, everybody always wants an easy interpretation, but if that's what you're looking for, you're going to have to go look somewhere else. So We're at Judges 7:10. But if thou fear to go down, go with Phorah, thy servant, down to the host. So he's like, if you fear, go with this guy. So basically, some people are going to say this word is like a child. So we're gonna clarify this and see here. They're using it as young man, a servant, and then child 44 times. So this is the contradictory uses that I'm talking about, and we're going to get into a bunch of examples. So they're saying child, young man, servant, children, youth, babe, boys. So yeah, it's actually quite weird when you start breaking this down. So they're using it as servants there. Here they're going into, they're saying attendant. So, and if thou are afraid to attack, first go down to the camp with your attendant. Phorah, or Purah here. Yeah. And here's our word right there, noar. All right, we got another weird use of the word noar. Here in Judges 17:5, they're saying man. Just a second ago, they were saying in the definition a kid, babe, boy, child. So this is a child. He's asking him to be a father here. It's 17:7, and the particular verses, the specific verses. And Micah said unto him, dwell with me and be unto me a father and a priest. So it's a weird thing to say. And again, over here, young man, 10, stay with me, Micah said to him, and be a father and a priest to me. And they're using Nar a couple times here in this precept. When we jump over to Ruth, we see a weird, again, servant. They're using it as servant. So particularly when he says Boaz said to the servant who was in charge of the reapers. So this isn't a baby. This isn't a boy. You don't put a boy in charge of the reapers, right? And they're using servant as noar here a few times. La, noarwa, ha, nora, which is the feminine nar. Nora, again over there, nar, the servant. So again, over here in the KJV, it's servant here again. Oh, stupid phone. It's servant here, right? Noar. Yeah, why would you say that? Why would a boy or a babe or a child be in charge of the reapers? Boaz right here. That doesn't make sense. Jumping over to First Chronicles chapter 12. Really, you got to just read the chapter to get the context, but we're going to jump in on verse 29 here. These are the numbered going to war, and these are numbered numbers of war bands that were ready armed to war. So, right, so this guy was over 20 years old, as we shown with the precepts, and they're counting Zadok, right, as the ones counted for war. So if we go over to verse 27, right, and Jehoiada was the leader of the Aaronites, and with him were 3,700. And Zadok, a young man, mighty of valor, and of his father's house 22 captains. So the word here they're saying it's man, young man. I mean, it's got to be a man because they're older. They're older than 20 years old, and he's being numbered, as I already showed with the precepts. It's clearly a man, but they're going to try to say it's boys and youth and children. Yeah, it doesn't work out. So over here in the JPS, First Chronicles 12, like I said, you got to read the whole chapter to get the good context, but just to save time, we're going to jump over to 29. Zadok, a young valiant man with his clan, 22 officers. And we got Wat, Sadawak, Naar. So not a boy. That wouldn't make sense. I'm jumping over here to Exodus 33:11, where they're over here in JPS. They're saying straight up youth, and I'm going to show that he was over 20 years old and fighting part of the army. So they're saying straight up youth right there. And let's check out the KJV. And Yahweh spake unto Moses face to face, as a man speaketh unto his friends. And he turned again into the camp. But his servant Joshua, son of Nun, a young man, departed not out of the tabernacle. So here they're saying man, Nar, and just to get this, Ruth. And Ruth, they were saying, using Nar as servant over there with Boaz, the basically the overseer of the reapers, and right here, servant Sharath. Jumping over here to the JPS, we have, let's read Exodus 33:11. Yahweh would speak to Moses face to face as one man speaks to another, and he would then turn, and he would then return to the camp, but his attendant Joshua, son of Nun, a youth, would not stir out of the tent. And over here we have Yahawashah ban Nawan Nar. Apparently he's a youth, but no, he's a man at this point. He's already been fighting with the Amalekites, and we're going to get that. I'm over here in Exodus chapter 17. I'm going to go from verse 8 to the end of the chapter. So this is showing Joshua going out to battle, and our old nemesis Amalek over here. So Amalek came out and fought with Israel at Rephidim. Moses said to Joshua, "Pick some men for us and go out and do battle with Amalek. Tomorrow I will station myself on top of the hill with the rod of God in my hand." Joshua did as Moses told him and fought with Amalek, while Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. Then whenever Moses held up his hands, Israel prevailed, but whenever he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. But Moses' hands grew heavy, so they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it, while Aaron and Hur, one on each side, supported his hands. Thus his hands remained steady until the sun set. And Joshua overwhelmed the people of Amalek with the sword. Then Yahweh said to Moses, "Inscribe in a document as a reminder and read it aloud to Joshua. I will utterly blot out the memory of Amalek from under heaven." And Moses built an altar and named it Adonai Nasi. He said, it means hand upon the throne of Yahweh. Yahweh will be at war with Amalek throughout the ages. All right, with the ages of adulthood in mind, we're over here at Numbers 26:63 to the end of the chapter. So these are the persons enrolled by Moses and Eleazar the priest who registered the Israelites on the steppes of Moab on the Jordan near Jericho. Among these there was not one of those enrolled by Moses and Aaron the priests when they recorded the Israelites in the wilderness of Sinai. For Yahweh had said of them, "They shall die in the wilderness." Not one of them survived except Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and Joshua, son of Nun. All right, we got even more clarification on Joshua over here. So Numbers 32, starting at 11, I believe going to 15. None of the men from 20 years up who came out of Egypt shall see the land that I promised on oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, for they did not remain loyal to me. None except Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and the Kenizzite, and Joshua son of Nun, for they remained loyal to Yahweh. Yahweh was incensed at Israel, and for 40 years he made them wander in the wilderness until the whole generation that had provoked Yahweh's displeasure was gone. So we're going to get another precept for this one too. And finishing this off, we've got Joshua, Deuteronomy chapter 1, starting over here at 34. Deuteronomy. All right. 34. When Yahweh heard your loud complaint, he was angry. He vowed, not one of these men, this evil generation, shall see the good land that I swore to give you to your fathers. None except Caleb, son of Jephunneh. He shall see it, and to him and his descendants will I give the land on which he set foot. Because he remained loyal to Yahweh. Because of you, Yahweh was incensed. Because of you, Yahweh was incensed with me too. And he said, you shall not enter it either. Joshua, son of Nun, who attends you, he shall enter it. Imbue him with strength, for he shall allot it to Israel. So, just the final clarification of Joshua being 20 years old. He was one of the ones counted for war and the only ones that made it out of the wilderness. All right, so as I say, precept on precept, line upon line. I try to make this as quick as possible, but giving as much precepts as I can to prove my point. So we're over here in Numbers chapter 13, 17 until the end of the chapter, capping off this Joshua story with him being allowed through and this good testimony that they gave, which is part of why they got to go through the wilderness trials. So here we are. When Moses sent to them to scout the land of Canaan, he said to them, go up there into Negeb and into the hill country and see what kind of country it is. Are the people who dwell in it strong or weak, few or many? Is the country in which they dwell good or bad? Are the towns they live in open or fortified? Is the soil rich or poor? Is it wooded or not? And take pains to bring back some of the fruit of the land. Now it happened to be the season of first ripe grapes. They went up and scouted the land from the wilderness of Zin to Rehab, to Hamath. They went up into Negeb and came to Hebron, where lived Ahiman, Sheshai, and Talmai, the Anakites. Now Hebron was founded 7 years before Zoan of Egypt. They reached the Wadi Esjol, excuse my pronunciation of some of these words, and there they cut down a branch with a single cluster of grapes. It had to be borne on carrying frame by two of them, and some pomegranates and figs. The place was named Wadi Eshkol because of the cluster that the Israelites cut down there. And at the end of the 40 days, they returned from scouting the land. They went straight to Moses and Aaron and the whole Israelite community at Kadesh in the wilderness of Paran, and they made their report to them and the whole community as they showed them the fruit of the land. This is what they told him. We came to the land you sent us to. It does indeed flow with milk and honey, and this is the fruit. However, the people who inhabit the country are powerful, and the cities are fortified and large. Moreover, we saw the Anakims there. The Amalekites dwell in Negeb region. Hittites, Jebusites, Amorites inhabited the hill country, and Canaanites dwell by the sea and along the Jordan. So Caleb hushed the people, before Moses and said, "Let us by all means go up, and we shall gain possession of it, for we shall surely overcome it." But the men who had gone up with him said, "We cannot attack that people, for it is stronger than we." Thus they spread calumnies against Israel. Thus they spread calumnies among the Israelites about the land they had scouted, saying, "The country that we traversed and scouted is that scouted in one that devours its settlers. All the people that we saw in it are men of great size. We saw the Nephilim," and we're going to get a study on that. I'm going to get a study on that. So we saw the Nephilim there. The Anakites are part of the Nephilim, and we looked like grasshoppers. We looked like grasshoppers to ourselves, and so we must have looked to them. All right, so in this next set of precepts, I'm going to be showing how noir is rather more of a term for someone that's young, not so much like kid or young adult. It's just a term for being young. We're going to see a bunch of examples with it used along being describing like young and old. Take your young and old, and we're going to show a bunch of precepts and examples of that. So I'm going to start over here with Genesis 22:5. Showing them using the word men and lad in the same sentence. So, and Abraham said unto his young men, the word here, Nahar, men, abide ye here with the ass, and the lad, Nahar, the lad, will go yonder and worship and come again to you. So, we're going to see, like I said, it's more of a term for someone that's just young or youthful, not old. It doesn't particularly mean child. It doesn't particularly mean someone that's over 20. It's just a term for someone that's younger. I'm going to try to get through this last section as quick as possible. I'll just use the Olive Tree app just to get through these precepts as fast as possible. So I'm going to give you guys a bunch of Strong's numbers you could use as referencing to the verses I'll be going through right now. So H5286 through H5292 is noir. If you just remove the disgusting vowel points that really just cause confusion, because the word is rather a reference to someone that's young, not old, and we're going to show that in these precepts right now. So it's not particularly a term for someone that's over 20 or particularly a term for just kids. It's just a just a view of someone, like how we say young man. A young man could be, if you're old, someone in their 30s could be a young man. So it all depends on the perspective and the use of it. Not so much on these vowel points. It really just caused confusion. And then we got people saying that mentioning. I don't want to get into Rebecca. I just want to keep this more clean. But this is why I'm defending this word. So yeah, H5286 through H5292, all the same word, na'ar, and then the feminine with the ha making it feminine, H5291 and H5292, na'ara. So, all right, so here we are in Exodus 10:9, and Moses said, "We will go with our young and with our old." So here they're using young, na'ar, young, and our old, Zaquan, and with our sons and with our daughters. Our sons are Ban and Bath. With our daughters, with our flocks, and with our herds, we will go. For we must hold a feast unto Yahweh. And so the words they're using here. Let me just give some more referencing points of the words that are going to come up. So we got young, right? Young, 5286, H through 5292, and then we got old is H2204, H through H2209, Zaquan, and then we got son, Bon. Everybody knows this one. H1121 through H1123. And we got daughter over here, Both, is H1323 through H1325. We got man, Ayash, man, H0376 through H0377. And we got women, lastly, Shah, H0800. So let's get some more precepts. All right, so I already got those gendered words, basically giving genders and then differences between young and old. And we got Joshua 6:21 over here. And they utterly destroyed all that was in the city, both man, right, man, Ayash, women, Shah, young, Nar, and old, Zaquan, and ox and sheep and ass with the edge of the sword. All right, another one. Let's get another. All right, so we got another example here. But before they laid down Genesis 19:4. But before they laid down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, both old Zaquan, and young, Nar, all the people from every quarter. Let's get another one. All right, over here in Isaiah chapter 20, verse 4. So shall the king of Assyria lead away. My apologies on my dog. She's just a good guard dog. So shall the king of Assyria lead away the Egyptian prisoners and the Ethiopians captive, young and old, Naar and Zaquan. All right, Isaiah chapter 20, verse 4. Let's get another one. Yep, more examples. So Lamentations, over here, Lamentations, chapter 2, verse 21, yeah. The young and the old lie on the ground in the streets. Again, Nar, young, and old, Zaquan. Jumping over to Esther 3, chapter 3, verse 13. Some gendered words and young and old yet again. And the letters were sent by posts into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all the Jews, both young and old, little children and women, in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is in the month Adar. So let's just stick with this for now. Young, Nar, and old, Zaquan. Got another one. Got one more, I believe. All right, lastly, yeah, this is my last precept for these for this young and old reference that we hear a bunch of times being used. So Psalms chapter 37:25. I have been young and now am old, yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. Nar, and didn't you know it? Zaquan. All right, just to clarify again, Nar is just a term for young. It doesn't mean kid. It doesn't mean man. It's just a term for being younger. So let's get into the definitions. We're starting here at 5286. Root to growl. Primitive root through the idea of the rustling of mane, which usually accompanies the lion's roar, to tumble about, shake. So I don't know if you've just seen younger people, if you've been around, everyone's been around, right? You just see younger people are always kind of moving and shaking, and you got descriptions of lions roaring, that when you're getting old, when you become old, you're not as loud, you don't talk as much, you're not moving as much, less is more, move smarter, work smarter, not harder. The younger people tend to just move more often rather than when you get older and start getting smarter, not as much rustling and shaking, Nar, 5288, from 5287, of infancy to adolescence. So it's not just from infancy to adolescence. And they're putting these vowel points to try to make it so, but it's not. It can be a man, just as we've seen with Joshua. And many times it's used as someone that's a man. So it's just, again, just a term for someone that's young. And, even some people that are older can be described as Na'ar just because of the way they are. So they're using it as servant. Oh, excuse me. It's a girl, child, young, children, youth, It's not necessarily wrong, but it's not necessarily right. And they're going to use this. A lot of people want to use this for attacking our forefather Isaac, but it's pretty much a straw man argument. I don't really want to get into it in this video, so let's just get these definitions. From 5287, sense of tossing about, wanderer, young one. We got 90 here from 5288, and they know what it is from 52. They know it's all the same thing, pretty much. But they're trying to, you got to dodge the hijack. They're trying to make it seem like it's just a adolescence thing. Another noun means youth. This noun appears only 4 times in the Bible, once from my youth up. And right here we got 5291 feminine, Nara. A girl from infancy to adolescence, again. And they're using it 34 times as damsel, but we already got that. Nora can be used as a young woman. See, young woman, it's just a term for young, and again, Nora. And same as 5291, right? Same as 52. And they know what it is. So they're saying here under Nara, 5271. So just to cap this off, Na'awar, Nara, youth, the state of juvenility, or the person's young people, childhood. So not necessarily just childhood. So I hope this point is made pretty clear by now. Before I call it, I'm gonna throw in a quick little bonus here for ta'af, a word used for like little ones, infants, babies. So age 2945. Let's get into this precept. Ta'af. So from 2952, perhaps referring to the tripping gait of children, a family, most used collectively in the singular. Little children, ones, family. So little ones. And when we get into the word, right, into the root here, tafaf, a primitive root apparently to trip with short steps, consequently mincing one, to skip, trip, take quick little steps. So anyone that has kids, when you hear this definition, it's a little baby. They're just learning to walk and trying to keep up with the regular steps of adults and the regular sized people. They're like skipping with their tiny little steps. I know people have seen little babies walking. This word cannot be confused with teenagers, with older people. This is clearly a word for toddlers and infants. Tafaf, mincing. There should be no confusion. Let me get a couple precepts real quick just to finish this quick little bonus word. And all their wealth and their little ones and their wives took they captive. So let's get another one. That we may live and not die, both we and thou and our little ones will be surety for him. Of my hand shall thou require him. Get another one. And Jacob rose up from Beersheba, and the sons of Israel carried Jacob, their father, and their little ones. You carry little ones, or very, very old people that need help. So little ones that can't keep up because they're walking too much. Let's get Exodus. And he said unto them, let Yahweh be so with you, as I will let you go, and your little ones. Tough, you're infants. I don't know how anyone can mix this up with anything other than infants. Someone maybe that doesn't have kids. And the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot. That were men besides children. So they had these little kids walking, trying to keep up, taking little steps, right? Mincing little steps, tripping on their feet, can't keep up because they're infants. Moreover, your little ones, which he said should be a prey. Why, like young warriors, 18, 19, a young man at that age could be just an effective warrior. That's who these people send to war, 18-year-olds, right? So they're not going to be as prey as an infant that's mincing, that can't really run. Moreover, your little ones, which he said should be prey, and your children, which in that day had no knowledge between good and evil, infants, little kids, babies, they shall go in thither, and unto them I will give it, and they shall possess it. So it's talking about babies, toddlers. All right, so that pretty much wraps up the video. I just want to read this last little thing I got typed up on some information with just some examples of basically pedos in popular countries, civilizations, making Hebrew Torah significantly set apart. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up the age of adults according to Scripture, and the contradictory uses of the word nar. Basically, my beef with how they're using nar. So let me just read. Lastly, this little some information I got typed out, like I said. So, in ancient Mesopotamia, the bride's consent was not required for marriage. Instead, marriages were arranged by the parents of the bride and groom, and the bride's father would draw up the marriage contract. The Code of Eshnunna, written around 1900 BC, made marriages invalid if the bride's parents did not give their permission. So jump in here to ancient Persia. So a shallow search yielded as low as 9 and as high as 15. Similar to many ancient societies, the age of consent was often determined by the consent of by onset of puberty. Yeah, so that's just, we're going to be getting into that, but similar to many ancient societies, the age of consent was often determined by onset of puberty, which could vary depending on the individual. And this gets into why, Talmud and all this Quran nonsense. So we got another interesting word here, pederasty, a social acknowledged practice in ancient Greece and Rome, adult male relations with a boy. So here's some popular countries of current ages, and then I'm going to read some popular countries of in the not so far past. So these popular countries. So current ages of consent in USA, for the most part, it's like, I believe, like 32 countries or something close to that number is 16. So it's not the majority isn't 18. It's the average in America is 16. So it's 16 through 18. Israel 16. UK is 16, and this is right now. African countries 13 through 18. Germany 14 right now. China 14. Afghanistan is onset of puberty. Russia 16. Italy 14. Saudi Arabia right now is 18, but they're pushing to onset of puberty right now, pretty much as we speak. So ages of consent in the past of popular countries: USA in the 1800s, it was 7. In 1871, it was 7 in Delaware. In 1880, in the United States, it was 10 and 12 in most states, 10 and 12 besides Delaware. Germany during the Nazis was 13. In 1275, the first age of consent in England was 12. In 1875, in England was 13. In 1885, it was 16. And before 2019, Saudi Arabia had no minimum age of marriage. The Personal Status Law of 1991 allowed girls to marry at puberty, and 10 years old could marry with judicial authorization. So with that, I'm going to end this video.